Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome in. Looking forward to exploring a little bit and having some fun of a crossover between the dream arc and the Gene Keys activation sequence. So today we're going to dream arc manager Matthew Ashdown, and we're going to be exploring some of the crossover between the dream arc transmission and the Gene Keys transmission and the profile. Looking forward to explore some cool things. So my name is Jesse Chestnut. I'm going to be hosting an upcoming activation retreat with Mark Bentley, and I'm a Gene Keys guide and a dream arc enthusiast. And yeah, it's really nice to be here with Matthew Ashdown, another Gene Keys guide and Gene Keys enthusiast, and the DreamArc manager. And yeah, good friend. And looking forward to exploring some of this playful crossover between Gene Keys and DreamArc. So thanks for starting this call, this initiative, Matthew, and really looking forward to exploring some of the magic between these two systems.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Absolutely. It could be a fun, playful way to work with between the systems and some weavings, and excited to hear about the activation sequence retreat coming up with yourself and Mark Bentley. And the dream arc is very much alive for so many people in the community. And if it isn't yet, it might be as you start to journey into this, and there can be easy ways to weave it. And that's what we're talking about today. Playfulness, ease, and simplicity, I think.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's amazing. So for those who don't know, the Gene Keys is this amazing system created from Richard Rudd that has a profile and 10 or 12 books and different systems of knowing ourself and knowing the world, knowing the collective. And it's really profound system and a transmission, a living transmission. And as part of that transmission that's connected to it, it connects all of the Gene Keys to these animals in the animal kingdom, to a lot of the wisdom of the dream time and the consciousness of Gaia and the earth, and such an amazing kind of sister transmission to these Gene Keys. And so it's really beautiful. They can be a system unto themselves, but it has been so amazing to really weave them together and to connect them and think about, in the profile, there's this purpose key, and you have a key and line in your purpose. And recently we've connected the dream arc animals into what is my purpose animal. And so there's this beautiful way that, the wisdom of the Gene Keys can bring so much wealth of knowledge and information and wisdom arising from within of who we are, who we're meant to be, things like that. And for me, connecting it to this animal and all of the mythology and the wisdom from around the globe has brought so much more to my contemplation. And connecting, the animal that comes to me brings in all this mythology, all this lore, more beautiful writings and interpretations from Richard Rudd, and from the beautiful art and magic that Rosie Aronson brings to it. And so it just has brought this real flourishing, another depth and layer. And so for me, my purpose animal is the turtle. And so today I brought my turtle token here. It's my tea friend, so it joins me on my little tea table. And I actually am wearing a T-shirt that a good friend Dia gave me from New Zealand, and it's a turtle here. So the turtle in my purpose is alive and well for me today. So some of the playful ways I'm thinking of using, carrying this animal that has brought a lot of depth to my contemplation of the Gene Keys and brought a lot of magic for me. And it helps me, in the contemplation, like the meditation times when things are still, but it really helps me when things come pressurized, when life gets in the way and everything seems challenging. Oftentimes, like the turtle reminds me that, it's got this, and to slow and steady, wins the race, and can really hold a lot of that weight on its shell and not take it all in. It's like protected. And so anyway, this is just small pieces for me that have really helped me to unlock my purpose, which is part of the Gene Keys profile. And it's really the culmination of the activation sequence. How can I live my purpose? And the wisdom from Richard Rudd and the I Ching and all of the synthesis from the Gene Keys has been such a powerful journey for me to unlock my purpose. But it has been the turtle that has just like given it this whole new dimension for me. And so I'm really grateful to be kind of playfully weaving these systems together.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jesse. Yeah, I love that. I love the turtles and the way it's showing up for you. You know, yeah, for anybody wondering, if it's not there right now, we'll get the DreamArc profiler up so that you can actually, if you go to the DreamArcs our Instagram channel, which you should find through connected through here, you'll see at the top there is a link there to the DreamArc profiler. If you click on that, you can go and find out what the creature is for your purpose sphere. And it's a playful way, you know, like a lot of times we look at it and it's like, oh wow, look at this creature. Is this really mine? I don't resonate with that one. Like for me, actually, I love that Jesse has the turtle. For me, and we actually share this gene key in common. It's the fourth gene key, myself and Jesse. But for me, my purpose creature is the grub, the grub, which is kind of like not not the nicest thing to necessarily spend a lot of time with, and you might find them rooting around in garbage and out in nature like that. But it's such even the grub can take us on this really powerful journey, and it's about in the dream arc, it's about the fear of mystery, right? And so from this little creature, the grub, it's taken me on this journey of embracing the mystery. And one of the things about this dream arc too is like, sometimes people might be working with the gene keys and they're looking at their gene key profile and they realize there's 3 creatures per gene key. There's 11 gene keys. I cannot possibly think of bringing in all 33 creatures. Well, actually more now that we've got the Star Pearl out as well. And so one of the things that we encourage is, hey, you don't have to. I still probably haven't worked with all of the animals that are in my profile, but I've worked with the animals that show up in my life, and I've worked with the animals that have really resonated with me. And that's really what makes this journey with the dream arc is very right-brained in this way. I can be really supportive of our gene key contemplations. The other week I met somebody. She hadn't done the gene keys, and she's really dived deep into the dream arc. And now she's actually finding herself going towards the gene keys. And she said the dream arc helped her overcome her fear of numbers. And so, it's another way of entering into this stream, and it can just show things up in the most unexpected of ways. One of them being, I've just found there's a little bird in my office here. How did that get in? Okay, we're just going to let that play here for a while because I can't attend to that right now. A little bird sneaking into the office. Gotta love that. That's the magic of the dream arc. And so, as you're working with the gene keys, you might be in, I know some people are in several transmissions at once. And sometimes it could feel like, oh no, it's overwhelming. There's so much to take on. But it could be a way of simplifying. And as you're entering into the activation sequence, as you're working with this, we call this dreaming your genius, because, start to work with these animals of the dream arc, and it can open us up to a whole world of dreaming and possibilities. And the guidance from the animals is very unique. Each 192 creatures, all very unique. So as you step into this, it's really allowing yourself to embrace the unknown in a way. And it's embracing the unknown. And it's also that piece, Jesse, you were talking about, is this can really help to ground this experience. This is something we hear again and again for people working with the dream arc, is it really could support grounding ourselves in our genius, right? So it's not something that's intellectual. A lot of times we can enter into this work and think, well, there's a lot of knowledge here, but this is all a wisdom-based transmission. This is an integrating this into our lives, deepening this, connecting this out into the world. And so as we approach our activation sequence, we might say, hey, is there a creature that wants to support me here? And perhaps it's the one on the DreamArc profiler. Again, you can see the link in the DreamArc bio. Perhaps in the DreamArc profiler, perhaps it's one that you've just seen come into your office, like the little Jenny Wren that showed up in my room a few minutes ago. I see he seems to have found a hole and got out somewhere, because we're close to the outside here. And so, it's, or it could be something completely different, but you could work with one creature to guide you through it, through the activation sequence. If you're somebody who's already in the dream arc and thinking you can possibly take on another course or something like that from the Gene Keys, it can be really helpful to be like, oh, maybe this is, if I'm working with the activation for 4 months, maybe I work with this creature in this category of the dream arc for 4 months, and I can allow it to help me unravel my genius. Maybe there's one animal there that really wants to support you and help you. And then, yeah, we get to invite it in. We can invite in, Jesse said, through mythology, through reading stories and experiencing them that way. Or we might meditate and imagine ourselves becoming it and really embodying it. So there's many different ways that we can approach this. And we can really, yeah, it's like we can ask ourselves simple questions. What can help me to, unravel my genius? Which creature could help me unravel my genius? And, my purpose, which creature could help me reveal my purpose? And you might be surprised at what shows up there. And so, yeah, these are some of the entryways into working with this. And perhaps Jesse, you might have a story of a particular. I've got so many stories I could share, but I would love to hear a story from you as you've been working either with Turtle or maybe one of the other creatures of the Dream Arc, how that's been supporting your experience of working with the Gene Keys.
Yeah, thanks, Matthew. Yeah, it's and how magical that a bird comes into your office as we're live in the Dream Arc and Gene Keys. It's so fun, pal. This is kind of the reminder that Gaia is always alive inside of a room, boxed into an office, and Gaia, the living intelligence of the whole is still finding its way in and making itself be known. And to me, that's one of my favorite parts of the dream arc is that, sometimes systems of knowledge, spiritual systems, philosophical systems, all sorts of these systems can get very heady. It can get very up in the head. And how am I going to figure this out? How am I going to unlock all of these 64 gene keys, these codes that are connected to consciousness and DNA and the stars and the planets and all sorts of living wisdom, throughout the cosmos. There's an infinite depth almost to what this system can be. And so for me, with the fourth gene key in my life's work and all throughout my profile, there's this obsession to understand. And so for me, I can get really lost in the head. And so one thing that I find really powerful and beautiful is how an animal crossing my path or something emerging into my real life, like even something like an animal on a movie or some stuffy that my daughter pulls out that she hasn't pulled out for a year, like there's just so many ways that these things can cross, or a bear crossing my path, which happened, recently, like literally a close encounter with a wild animal. Like all of these things can be secret winks and messages from Gaia, from the consciousness, from the dream space, the from the throughout the veil, or and it helps me kind of get out of my head trying to figure out where everything is and what it is, and instead going, oh, well, this is surprising. What is this little wren gonna say to me today? For me, I've had a bunch of amazing interactions with praying mantises, and they, it's meaningful to me in this way that the dream arc has opened and expanded, connecting it to the gene key system and the profiler. It's just been amazing to see how the magic and the mystery and the unknown of life can come in and sort of disrupt the headiness of perhaps studying a system, and then it really drops in a different way. And sometimes it's all of that headiness that actually keeps me stuck from embodying the Gene Keys wisdom, because the truth of the Gene Keys is not about all of Richard's words and all of the scientific or data or all of the bits of knowledge of where it came from and what it means and how exactly it goes. These are all mirrors reflecting in an innate intelligence that lives within us. The gene keys all exist within DNA, within all of consciousness, all of time, space, and dimensional reality. It really is just a part of consciousness. And sometimes headiness can get us stuck away from, how does this feel? How does this breathe? What does my body think about this experience? What does my soul or my aura or my radiance think about this? Like, what does the subconscious feel about this? What is the higher consciousness, the acidic frequency? Like, what does my highest self feel about this? Like, all of these parts and pieces don't necessarily live in the brain. And so to me, it's been that magic to remember that the logical brain doesn't have all of the answers. And if I ever get stuck in the logical brain, a lot of times the right brain or the magical embodied experience of crossing paths with an animal, it brings a deeper sense that really allows me to trust in the bigger mystery and let the mind take a pause for a second and let that childlike heart kind of be amazed by the mystery or the unknown or the synchronicities of things, and really trusting in the body, trusting in the cells, trusting in the deep knowing that actually I don't know in my brain, I know somewhere deeper and more holistic or embodied sense that can be tricky for the modern mind. So much of school and the modern world is really about that logical brain. But the Gene Key system in general, but definitely the Dream Arc, is just really profound at trusting in the wisdom that's beyond just me and my brain, and really trusting in my whole being, and then that whole being that stretches out to all of Gaia, all of life, and all of the magic, all of the culture, all of the great mixing pot of humanity has to offer in the dream time. And so um I have also a bunch of little keynotes and synchronicities that have happened through my life. And without getting into too many of those, like what has been really alive for me is that as I'm contemplating a sphere, going through a Gene Keys profile, journey. Right now, we're in the activation, or we're prepping for the activation sequence, which launches in a week. But we're in the Venus sequence right now, coming towards the end of the Venus sequence. And so to me, this whole journey through the Venus sequence, this time, part of my contemplation of the Gene Keys and the shadow, the gift, the city, the line, all of the nuance that is there in the course material, I've also been adding, well, what does Coyote think about this? What does Coyote have to say about my mythological journey, which is connected to the sphere that I'm contemplating right now? And it doesn't distract, and it doesn't like compete. It actually has been this cool addition that just, it simplifies it. I don't have to figure out what the coyote means. Like, I can let it be a mystery, and I can let it come in my dreams or in my intuitions. And sometimes I don't know what it means. And then it's like, oh, cool. Well, I'm just going to let it be. And then eventually it does kind of sneak in from the sides. It doesn't come from, oh, I'm going to figure it out, and this is what it means. It's like allowing the magic to take time. It kind of feels like it's creeping up through the subconscious, and it's kind of sneaking up on me a little, until oftentimes there is a breakthrough there. There is a real epiphany that didn't come from the system or the logic, but really came from the magic of allowing the dreaming of genius, the bringing together the right and the left brain, the world of spirit and light and form and matter, allowing these opposites of yin and yang, of seen and unseen, all of these things coming together. And it's that cross-pollination that I've just found so much magic, so much meaning, and it's usable in my life. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse. Yeah, I've heard many of your stories along the way. And even as you were talking about Mantis, I noticed there was a comment here in the thread that somebody who's begun working with the dream arc was meditating, and it came out of her meditation and there was a praying mantis right before her. So, this kind of thing is, it really is, like you said, it opens up, it helps to rewire our brains in some respects. And it allows us to put real trust in the unknown and the uncertainty. Because even when we're studying and looking at the gene keys and reading the gene keys and we're contemplating and we're taking these words in and digesting them, I mean, this is part of the work of the grub, taking these words in and digesting them, that it's, as we do, it's like we draw to us situations in life that we can't expect, we couldn't plan, we couldn't, prep for. And so when we include all of life in this, because people who work with the dream arc, they're not just finding its animals. There's many who have a real strong connection to the trees and to the plants, and so it's relationship with all of life. And if you're working with your activation sequence, there's one sphere, it's the radiant sphere. And our radiant sphere is based upon the position of the sun at 88 degrees before our birth. And so it's an unconscious connection with the sun. It's related to our body. The radiant sphere is related to connecting to the rhythms of the earth. And so a lot of times when people are working with their gene keys, they might find that the animals associated with that particular key, for instance, can have some real resonance. And I do know that for my wife, my wife has been somebody who's never worked with the gene keys, but it's been amazing watching how things have unfolded for her. And just for anyone unfamiliar with it, if you're familiar with the gene keys, we have every gene key having a shadow, a gift, and a city, right? So we're here to recognize and explore the shadows, those unconscious parts of ourselves that we may not like, we may stuff away, we might repress, we might react to. And then as we allow, accept, and embrace them, we release the gifts into the world. And then we're also simultaneously, there's this essence that we're invoking, the spirit of the gene key, the city, as it's called. And so in the dream arc, we're working with them similarly, but we have what are called the fear key, the life key, and the vision key. The fear key, this is the insects, the creatures that are down to the earth, the reptiles, the fish, that kind of thing. And then we have the life keys. These are the animals that interact. These are your dogs and cats, that kind of thing. It's the animals on four legs that wander the earth. Some of them swim in the ocean too, like whales definitely swim in the ocean, and they're included in that category. And then we have the birds, and the birds that fly, and these are connected to this vision category, or this connection to what we call the city. And so these are the kind of the three bands, the underworld, the middle world, and the upper world that we work with in the dream arc. And so this is how they can support. And one of the things I say too is, like, although I'm working with the grub and it's considered a fear key, and so in the mind, people might associate it with the shadow, it's actually here to, I find that they support me through all three realms. They thought through all frequency bands, the shadow, the gift, the city. Because as I embrace the mystery that the grub is here to remind me of, I can open up to this deeper mysteries of life and enter into the realm of the unknown, and to allow for the forgiveness of the city, which is beyond any intellectual reason. Forgiveness doesn't need a reason to exist. It just exists. It comes through. And so really find that with working with the dream arc. And so just to share a story of my wife as an example, as somebody who's never worked with the gene keys really over the years, is that for 7 years, she was in charge of a center. She played this role at a center where she had a very public role, and she was serving her community. And her gene key of purpose happens to be the 43rd gene key, which moves from deafness to insight to epiphany. And this gene key has the creature at the life key, which is associated with this idea of insight, which is when we are working with the gene keys, for instance, and we might receive these unexpected insights just popping in out of nowhere. So if we want a creature to work with, the creature of this gene key is the moose. And so the moose has these antlers that extend out to the sky, right? It's like they become these lightning rod. They receive the insights and epiphanies from the world around us, right? From the other realms. And they've also got their feet digging into the earth, right? So this is an animal that is here about bringing that higher wisdom and grounding it into the earth plane, which is the role my wife has played in this position for these 7 years. And one of the interesting things was that they hosted this center for these 7 years at a place called Moose Hall. And so Moose is her purpose feature, and it's one that she's been working with for these 7 years. Then what happens is last week she actually let that position go, and she was listening to this higher calling. Not a higher calling, that was already a high calling. She was listening for this time of change and was listening to this inner calling. And she facilitated a retreat somewhere in the mountains of British Columbia here. And it was a particular place called Loon Lake. Now, loon, for those who don't know, is a type of bird that we have here. It's got a beautiful, beautiful song that it sings. If you're out on the ocean on a still day, you can just hear the loons and their glorious sound, which is something to just completely receive and take in. Another way of working with the dream arc, just listening to the birds. I didn't used to be a bird watcher, but I'm a bird watcher. I'm a bird listener now. And so the loon is associated with the fourth gene key. And the fourth gene key is this vision of forgiveness. This is what the loon brings. So loon happens to be associated with her life work gene key, what she's here to do in the world. So she's been tuning to this purpose through the moose these last 7 years, and now opening up. Here she is entering into and working, with a group of people at this space called Loon Lake. And what was beautiful is that they worked together for the full week. And at the end of it, she asked me to send, because I was over here and she was over there, but I sent her the write-up for the loon. Or no, she had it in her dream arc account, but she read it to everybody there. And the message from the loon is a diver, right? It spends its time in the air flying, but it dives deep. And this is the beauty of these creatures, right? It dives deep underwater into the emotional realms in this way. And so the message of this is one of a vision of forgiveness. And so when she read it out to the group, it just connected with their whole experience. And it was this whole week was of letting go and of allowing and experiencing forgiveness on multiple levels in relationships. And so this is just one example of the kind of the way that it can show up in these, it doesn't necessarily have to be the animal itself showing up, but it could be a reference to the animal. It's like it shows up somewhere in our consciousness. That's one of her paintings in the background there. That's a giraffe, right? And so there might be some people who feel an affinity towards the giraffe, for instance, and they may never have looked at it from this perspective, and it might draw you into it. And one of the other things I would say, if you choose to work with the gene keys and the dream arc, one of the things I would say is if you can let go of your attachment to your profile and your keys, that can open you up to even more of a mystery with this work, because the animals aren't going to know, they don't care about our profiles, our gene key profiles, but their wisdom can come at us, and it could be a right-brained kind of way of approaching it. But I know, for instance, people that have had, I know one woman who was sharing a story where she would have deer show up on her front lawn, and she was working with the dream arc, and she was looking, she said, well, they're not in my profile. So, I don't know if that's got anything for me. And so she let it be for a bit. And then they kept showing up and showing up. And so she said, okay, I'm going to read it. And she read the message from the deer, which is all about coming close to the earth and recognizing the people in your community that are close to the earth. It is a gift of graciousness that the deer brings in. And so she wept when she was reading it because of the resonance that it had. So it could show up, and in our minds, we might link it to a certain gene key. And there is a connection with the gene keys. Obviously, like this is where it's all birthed from, is this connection to the gene keys. Richard Rudd sat with 192 animals. He listened to their messages and he associated with them with a particular gene key and a particular aspect of that gene key. And so, there is obviously a resonance there. And at the same time, really deep down, every single one of the 64 gene keys plays a part, there is some kind of connection we have to that. It's just our profile. These are the 11 primary ones. But when we allow for the animals to show up and those connections, like the wren that just showed up here, the wren is about inspiration. It's connected to allowing for that total embrace of the uncertainty, kind of like stepping into this call today and allowing for something, new to percolate through into awareness, into consciousness. And so just take this as an invitation. If you're struggling with some part of your gene keys contemplation and an animal shows up, maybe see what that animal has. Maybe it's totally unrelated to any gene key in your profile, but maybe you just got exactly the kind of guidance you need in this moment. And I say that with knowing and experiencing this over the years and hearing so many stories of people having that kind of experience. And for it to be able to, like that Jesse was saying, it takes us out of our head then. It brings us into connection with all of life. And we recognize that there is nothing that occurs in this world that is by accident. That wren chose that perfect moment to come in and say hello, and then found the little gap in the shed wall there and flew out. And so this is the magic of the dream arc. It can help simplify, it can help weave things together. Weaving is a real word. That's a word I use a lot with the dream arc, because I'm currently working in two of our programs. There's the Star Pearl program, which is focused on harmony, and then there's the Venus Sequence program, which is the Pathway of Love. And it looks like, oh my God, being pulled in different directions. And I'm working with another teacher outside of Gene Keys. But this all weaves it in together beautifully. I could find one creature and say, okay, show me something that is bringing this all together. And so it can be life, it can be the creatures coming your way, it could be your profiler and the connection there, or we have an oracle. You could go to that oracle, and you can click on that oracle and see what, I trust the algorithm. That's the thing I say. I trust the algorithm. Our oracle is, at the moment, it's an app online, okay, and it's part of the DreamArc course. But very soon, in the next few months here, I'm going to say few months, just to not create any high expectations, there will be a physical DreamArc oracle deck where you will be able to access each of the creatures there. So there's lots of playful ways to experience this, and it can, just that taking it out of the the brain trying to figure everything out, and let life support us. And it doesn't just have to be the humans that support us. And not only that, sometimes when the animal's showing up, it's not about us saying, okay, what's this message this animal's got for me? Perhaps this animal is asking for some kind of support from you too. It could be, this is a journey of reciprocity in this work with the dream arc, and with this relating with the creatures of our world, and dreaming your genius. Again, it can open us up to dreams at nighttime. You might start dreaming of animals. You might start dreaming dreams that connect to this journey. And so, let's, work with the world around you to support your dreaming your genius through your work with the activation sequence. So thank you. Yeah. Back to you, Justin.
Thanks for sharing. It was such beautiful pieces there weaving. And for me, I had a huge revelation with Loon as well. So that's my life's work animal. And for me, I didn't look it up for a long time. And then after the profiler with the purpose animal came out, I looked it up, and it literally brought me to tears, because my grandparents, everything was Loon. Their boat was the Loon. Their car license plate was the Loon.
Wow.
All of the hand-me-downs I have from my grandparents, who are now deceased, is, I have a magnet on my fridge that's a Loon. I have all of the chinaware and all of the towels, anything I inherited from my grandparents, all was loon. And so for me, there's no greater significance of an animal that could have been picked to me, like specifically in my journey of life. And it's just it's so amazing to me when that magic happens, and it's just it's spectacular. But then as you're sharing, and you shared like, you know, 3 or 4 different animals, including the giraffe, which where the sun is in the 17th right now, and so it's connected to this gift of farsightedness.
I don't.
Here you are showing the giraffe
I don't even think of that.
is in the collective right now. You know, it just I think it just happened in the middle of the night. We're now on the 17th. And so, you know, even that synchronicity and magic is there. And so there's this ability to kind of hunt for synchronicity in the world, and to have the mystery like unravel a little bit more, and to follow that and to trust that, both the conundrums of our own life and the shadows and challenging things that we're going through, to our secret hopes and dreams, you know. And it can be inside our profile, it can be randomly something that we see in life, it can be something that just means a lot to us. So to me, the whale came to me in my dream arc journey as my guardian. And I love the whale, but I don't live by the ocean. I'm in Colorado, you know? And so I'm landlocked, but still the whale came to me and had all these messages. And so, you know, I bought a little whale stuffy for my daughter, and I have a little totem whale. And it actually was through dreaming and through all sorts of different measures that, even though I wasn't able to physically see a whale or hear them or be even by the ocean, I'm removed by space and time. They came to me through dreams, through meditations, through all sorts of things. Through Star Wars came out and had these hyperdimensional space whales, which resonated so deeply with me and my journey and loving Star Wars and the mythology of the Force and the Jedi. And, you know, and so it doesn't have to exactly be literal. There are so many ways that it can kind of help unpack seemingly hard to solve or hard to figure out components. And so as we're contemplating, you know, doing multiple sequences or having busy lives, juggling family life and work life and all these things, like can we do a retreat? Can we do a program? And these the activation retreat online is meant for working with a busy schedule. And so it's meant to go along with your life. Like most retreats, you have to tidy up all your business, you have to clock out of work, and you got to say goodbye to your family, and you got to get a pet sitter for the weekend or whatever. And you like fly or go to a place, and you have this super intensive retreat, and it can be really magical. You can have this other worldly experience that's beautiful and amazing, and thank gosh for those, you know, thank God for those retreats. But then you have to come back to your real life, and like oftentimes, like then now you're in the diapers and the dishes again, you're in the daily grind, you're in these things. And that beautiful experience from the retreat can seem like other, like, oh, remember that, it almost feels like a dream. Well, this retreat kind of situation allows us to carve out an hour or two each week to really focus in and to contemplate in the midst of our life, in the midst of our, you know, our normal life. And so in this way, all of the magic of the retreat comes right here into our life where we need it the most, you know? And so it's not to downplay the importance of retreats where we actually go and unplug and go to a different place. But these retreats allow us to bring a lot of that magic, a lot of the contemplation of self and our purpose and our deeper knowledge and wisdom right into our day-to-day life, and to do it with a global community at the same time. And so that's one of my favorite parts of this Gene Keys work, is it's not about, oh, I'm in the shadow right now, I'm going to go eventually get to the gift, and then eventually I'm going to get enlightened, and I'm going to go to the city, and I'll transcend, and it'll all be done for me. Like, it's not that linear journey. It's like, can I bring the city into my grumpiness? Can I bring the highest aspect of my nature and can I offer it in service to the world? Can I face my hidden fears and all of the shame and guilt and wounds and whatever, I never wanted to face? Can I bring a soft heart and a loving space to the worst parts of myself and actually love them? And can I find the hidden gift in the shadow? Because that's where our power lives. And we spend our time running away from our shadows just to recognize eventually, oh my gosh, that's where my power lives. If I can face my powers and not run from my fears, then offer them in service for the benefit of all beings, like this is my genius, and everyone is a genius. Genius is not just Einstein and Tesla. Great, they're amazing geniuses, but every being has its unique frequency of light and intelligence and love and connection, and it might not be intellectual genius. Good. We need emotional genius. We need kinetic genius. We need healing genius. We need animal genius. We need dream genius. We need all types of this genius. And so it's really beautiful um, to explore how to bring our unique frequencies out into the world. And so it's one thing to have a deep inner contemplation. And I think the Gene Keys is really good for this. Like I started contemplating on my own with the Gene Keys. I bought the books and the courses and was like really seeking deeply inside of my own self. And it was a beautiful and powerful process. But then it was in the retreat where I realized that there's a community. There are others doing this as well. And everyone has to walk your own path. Everyone has to release our own genius, face our own shadows, but to do it collectively and to offer that in service and kinship to other people, it's just absolutely amazing and profound. And so these retreats allow us to bring our own inner genius and have a real time way of sharing that with others. And then the dream arc almost takes it to another level. Like it's not even about me and my community, it's about the whole cosmos. It's about all of the animals and the magic. And it's just like it can make it much more complex by connecting it to everything. But what it really does is it makes it much more simple. It brings out these pieces that are just, we don't have to know everything and understand everything. We get to enjoy the ride, to trust the mystery. And that's really what it takes in many ways to embody our genius is we have to trust that our shadows are not just our limitations. They they hold our highest gift and our power to serve in the world. And it also holds that civic frequency. It holds the divine gift that we're here to embody. And they're all connected. It's all part of this one thing. And that's a big part of this journey of the activation sequences. Can we collectively journey our individual paths and can we share that together? And so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really grateful for the chance to talk about this with you, Matthew, and to weave some of the magic and the mystery of the dreaming and the dream arc and the animals and a lot of the oracle and there's so much to explore and not to over complexify it, but actually to bring us and connect us into that mystery and that magic of life and ourself. So yeah, thank you so much.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you, Jesse. I love that. I love that. I can feel, yeah, absolutely share everything, all your thoughts there on that, reflections on it. It's like deep into life, dive deep with the loon into life as it is showing up for us right here, right now. And speaking of showing up right here, right now, I just noticed that Mark Bentley is watching this stream. He's interacting and saying hello to other people. And he's going to be your co-host on this activation journey over the next 4 months. And as we've been doing this, I was just like, what I love doing is I love seeing if there's a creature, an animal that is going to be a guide for a retreat. Like in the Dream Arc, we've done 2 retreats. We've had the Skylark as one, we had the dragon as another. And I'm wondering if you've had any thoughts on that for this activation sequence. And if Mark's here, I don't know if he's had any thoughts on it. I don't know if we can invite him up, actually, can we?
Yeah.
And I
Mark,
thought he would be
if
in.
you want to jump on and spontaneously just raise your hand, we'd love to have you, but no pressure too. I know it's
Yeah.
late for you, so.
Yeah, it's late for him. He might be in his PJs, but you know that you can show up to your retreats in your PJs too these days, right? With these kinds of retreats. So, um, yeah, it's because it's like we could, you know, it could be based upon the start date of this. There could be a creature that wants to come and support this whole journey. And not only that, if you're somebody who's doing the activation sequence retreat, you know, there might be an overarching one um for the whole retreat, and then there may be another one that you work with specifically for yourself. There might be one that you can invite in and support you on your journey. So yeah, Mark's saying don't invite me up. He's in the dark, which I figured he would be. So, but at least we know he's here. I just want to share very quickly in relation to the activation sequence, and I've just heard it coming up a few times here, but I often feel that the hummingbird offers such a beautiful transmission related to the activation sequence. The hummingbird um, is actually related to one of Jesse's keys as well, but it's about a vision of exquisiteness, and it's about embracing our uniqueness, our unique colors, and shining them out in the world. And that to me is such a big part of this work with with Gene Keys activation sequence. And so I feel if there was a creature that I would choose as one for the activation sequence as a whole, not this particular retreat, I would say that one is right up there with this, you know, drawing out our exquisiteness, our many different colors, like Jesse said, the many different gifts of genius that are here in this space together right now, each person contributing to the whole in some unique way. And so I love the hummingbird for this. And I thought maybe, Jesse, just in closing here, that I could call on one. We love the spontaneity of the oracle, and maybe there's just a final short message. I won't read the whole thing, but something from a creature from the oracle, if I was to call on it now for us to close out with, something that might support those viewing. How does that sound?
Yeah, I love that, Matthew. Thanks. I love when you bring in the oracle and the oracular wisdom of the dream arc. And I'll just share for a moment. Yeah, the hummingbird has been really huge for me. It's part of my radiance, which is one of the spheres on my journey. And hummingbirds are such amazing beings. You know, they can move dimensionally. They can go up, down, backwards. They can hover. They are such amazing travelers, and they have such exquisite color. You know, some of the brightest greens and deepest purples and blues and these amazing hues. Their frequency is so high and refined that it's just like unbelievable. You could hear their wings and like these like crazy like hot
Nice.
noises. It's like so amazing of a bird, and honored around the world for their exquisite nature, for their kind of magical way of pollinating and of navigating. I've always felt like this connection to, I don't know, whatever, extraterrestrials or something like that. And these hovercrafts, the way that they move, I always am thinking about like dragonflies and hummingbirds. I think are some of the only birds that can fly in any direction, and insects. And so it's just really cool that you bring that forward. I love these creatures, and it really does, for me, it represents such my journey of like, not what is everyone else doing, right? That's the shadow of the eighth, is mediocrity. It's no one wanting to stick out. And the gift of style, like, who am I? Who am I meant to be? Who am I really? Like, really, not like what my school or my parents or girlfriend thinks I should be. Like, who am I? And through that journey of trusting that, and sometimes having great success and sometimes stumbling and falling and all of these things, like, eventually there's this exquisite nature that each being has, that's kind of hidden inside, that is rarefied and delectable and delightful and so beautiful, and can travel in any direction and dimension, and is tiny but is powerful. And so I really love that you brought forward the hummingbird in that way. And yeah, I'm intrigued and excited to kind of see what oracle comes forth today. So thanks, Matthew.
And Mark has just commented here. There's a few people relating to the hummingbird. Mark says, "I think we found our mascot for the upcoming retreat?" Question mark. We need an it. we need an interdimensional being to guide us through these quantum leaps. I love it. And it's one of the dreamers as well. It's a dreamer in the dream arc. So it's like dreaming your genius is the perfect fit. Let's see. Okay, so this is for everybody who's watching this right now. And for those of you who are joining the retreat with Mark and Jesse, and for those of you who are contemplating your genius and what your unique contribution is to the world, let's see if there's a creature. Let's see which creature from the dream arc can offer us all a little bit of grace here in the contemplation of our genius and our uniqueness. And let's see which one we get. Drum roll, please. It's the swordfish. The swordfish today. Ooh, the swordfish. This has come up in a few calls of a collective nature before. It's come up in a few group calls. So it's like, I think it really speaks to these unique times that we find ourselves in. And this one is in the dream arc, it's a fear key, right? And so that means it will help us face those fears, but it helps to bring out the gift as well. And this is related, anybody wondering, this is related to the 47th gene key, which moves from oppression to transmutation to the city of transfiguration. And so I'm just going to read a little bit of this. I won't read the whole thing. And this is guidance. And this one it's kind of supporting what we've been sharing here, that the release of our genius isn't something that just takes place on the mental dimensions. It's something that takes place on many different dimensions, as the hummingbird reminds us. And so my message to you is simple, incisive, and clear, says the swordfish. You must release stress from your body. You must find ways to breathe out the years of unconscious stress that you carry. This stress does not even originate in your own life. You carry it for the sake of the whole. You carry this ancestral burden. Now is the time to put it down. You will have to be decisive. You must find a clear means of doing this. It may require the help of someone skilled in physical body stress or release, or you may find another intuitive way of transmuting it. Some transmute through wholehearted service, some through deep breathing techniques, some through profound forgiveness and relaxation. Whatever your process is, hunt it out now. And I love that message for, taking this, what if your genius is hidden inside of your body, just waiting for, oh my gosh, there's a cat in the office next door now. Can I just, this is not my cat. Okay. I don't know if you saw that.
Wild.
Okay. He's chasing the wren that he saw. So apparently we have a hole in that wall that I need to know about. There we go. The cat came in for one last messenger for the day. I don't know if my wife experiences that from time to time, but that's my first experience of that. So there we go. The swordfish. Let's cut through, let's work through, and yeah, perhaps it's inviting a deep dive, that's for sure, into the emotional depths. But it's fast, it's swift, it can move through those. It's a transmuter. It's a great transmuter. So invite those great transmuters on your journey into discovering your genius.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Matthew, and thanks to the swordfish. I mean, what a profound kind of message, because we all share karmic ancestral history, and a lot of us are identified with our culture, with our parents' wounds, with our grandparents' wounds, like with the wounds of humanity sometimes, and it feels really limiting. And the swordfish kind of allowing us to set those down. And to me, that is part of the journey, and not by ignoring them, but recognizing like, wow, these can be healed, these can be felt, and like some of these old karmas can be transformed, transfigured, and so really, really powerful stuff yeah, it's nice to have the animal wisdom coming in this time. And I also want to honor that Momo is here. He's one of our hosts for the upcoming retreat, and Mark Bentley is the other co-host or main host with me, and then Matthew's going to be one of our hosts as well. And so I just want to honor the hosting team that is coming together. These hosts are global phenomenons. You know, they're really amazing global things that takes an entire team. And so I want to plug that tomorrow we are doing another call on YouTube. You can check it out at jinkies.com/events, and you can find everything that we're doing, all of our free events and paid events and everything like that. But tomorrow we're going to be journeying with all of the hosting team, whoever can make it, and to really honor the fact that this is a really large collective of people who come together. And so we have many community call hosts that are going to host bi-weekly calls at multiple times around the clock, so that we can have as many people around the globe in all the time zones to be cared and nurtured. And these community calls are places where we can come and share our voice and to listen to the wisdom of others. And some of my favorite parts of these retreats, how can I lean into my shadows and share some of my breakthroughs with others who are also going through their own. And sometimes when I'm in a really stuck spot, being able to share it in a safe place is really transformational. But also sometimes hearing other people face their shadows and come to their transformations. It's empowering to help me recognize, I can do this too. And I can open my heart in the face of fear. I can pause my mind and feel a deeper calling in my body, all of these things and these pieces. And so anyway, would love to invite you to tomorrow's call. I believe it's at 10 p.m. UTC, and we're going to do it on Facebook, or no, sorry, YouTube Live, not to be
Human channel.
Yeah, we'll be there with Mark and Momo, and hopefully Matthew can make it. But a lot of our hosting team, men and women from around the world, and we just want to share some of the depth of that community as well. So lots of love to you all. Thanks for showing up tonight in the middle of the night, Mark, and thank you, Matthew, as always, for sharing your wisdom. And you're a master at the Gene Keys and the Dream Arc. And just thanks for all the work that you're doing to kind of connect those transmissions many ways around the community. And so, yeah, thank you all so much. I think that's it for me. I'll give you the last word, Matthew.
Thank you. Yeah, I just say that for those of you who are journeying on this activation retreat and journeying with Mark and Jesse and Momo and all the other hosts, it is a phenomenal dive, and it is an experience going through it together as a group of people. There's a collective field. You're embracing your uniqueness within the collective. You're attuning to that purpose. So it's going to be a fun ride for 4 months, and I'm looking forward to joining in as well as much as I can. And I'm definitely going to be calling on the creatures to support me with that. But you're in great hands, and I love both these gentlemen so much, and just believe that they have such great wisdom to share. So exciting stuff. Thank you, Jesse.
Yes. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Swordfish. Thank you, Turtle. Thank you, Loon. Thank you, all of those things. Again, if you want to catch us tomorrow, you can keep track of everything. Mark and I will be back on Friday for kind of a last call exploring breakthrough. But we'll be on YouTube tomorrow. So if you can look for Gene Keys on YouTube, you can also go to genekeys.com/events and find everything that Gene Keys is doing. And yeah, so much love and gratitude to all of you for showing up. I love these lives, and thank you, Matthew, for everything there. And we'll see you next time. Much love.
Bye bye, everybody. Thank you, Jesse.